We're unsure at this moment what to make of the situation. The governor is telling everyone to stay in their homes and has issued a... One moment, folks. Something has just come across my desk. I'm getting reports that I'm having trouble reading this bulletin, but I've been told this has been confirmed by official sources. It appears that the dead are coming back to life and eating the flesh of the living.
Zombies are one of those things, alongside ninjas and pirates, that people can't really seem to get enough of. Zombies in particular make good fodder for games because they're soulless bags of walking flesh that don't leave you feeling remorseful after blowing them apart with a shotgun. George Romero's trilogy of the Dead contains some of the most quintessential zombie films ever made.
Shoot it, man! Shoot it in the head!
In 2005, after a long hiatus, he made a fourth film, Land of the Dead, which also had its own video game, Land of the Dead Road to Fiddler's Green, a first-person shooter developed by Brainbox Games, created with the Unreal 2 engine. The story is a prequel to the events of the film, and you play as a simple farmer named Jack, who finds his farm attacked by, you guessed it, zombies. He then begins a long journey to the same city featured in the film itself. Now, Fiddler's Green does get a few things right. I think they've done a pretty good job with the atmosphere, capturing the whole apocalyptic premise, and the game does have a well-implemented dismemberment system with the zombies. Shooting off a zombie's leg and watching them crawl across the ground towards you never gets old. As you explore the environment, you move through lots of palpable areas where you get a real sense of the events that have unfolded. What little voice acting there is done quite well for the most part, and Jack himself is a surprisingly likeable guy.
I'd never killed no one before, so I sure was real spooked.
The game kind of starts off almost like survival horror, with Jack having very limited ammo and only 2 or 3 weapons at his disposal. Most of the time you're outnumbered, and it makes more sense to just avoid the zombies entirely than try to take them head on. About a quarter or so into the actual story and you get your hands on a shotgun and automatic pistol, at which point it just becomes something of a shooting fest, and by the end of the game, you've got assault rifles, grenades and Molotov cocktails. All the tension and suspense pretty much goes out the window. Now, I know it seems kind of pointless to point out AI in a game where the only enemy encountered are brain-dead zombies, but even for zombies, these guys are really, really stupid. Running past them is much easier than it should be, and save for a couple of special zombie types with ranged attacks, they're really no threat at all. Shutting doors can be used to kind of delay pursuing zombies, which is a neat touch, but this doesn't carry across to every door for some reason. It's also common to see 2 or 3 of them trying to move through a doorway at the same time, ultimately ending up with them all getting stuck on top of one another like an undead version of the Three Stooges. The real difficulty in this game comes from the bizarre hit detection that plagues the shooting. The shooting is fun for the most part, weapons sound pretty good and they're modeled with just enough detail, but the bullets just don't go where they're supposed to, or do what they should. Headshots, for instance, should always be an instant kill, especially in a game about zombies. Yet half the time it can require multiple hits even from the strongest guns in the game. There are zombies wearing military helmets, which is the only time this would make sense, but there's really no excuse for it otherwise. I'm not even sure if it's the way the weapons are designed or just that the aiming is that bad. I found that for headshots to actually register properly, that I had to aim a little to the left and above a zombie's head. It's not the kind of thing you want to be worrying about though when you've got half a dozen of the pricks shambling towards you.
For those of you tuning in, this is not a joke.
You've also probably noticed the visuals by now, and it's pretty obvious that this game looks like total shit. The FOV feels really obstructive, though that's really the least thing wrong with the game visually. It just looks bad, even for its time. Half-Life 2, Doom 3 and Far Cry had all been released by this point, and Fiddler's Green looks like something from the late 90s. The textures lack any sort of detail whatsoever and are usually just large, flat blocks of colour. Zombies are animated believably, but there's only 4 or 5 different variants. When I first played Fiddler's Green, I actually thought the game was on low settings, but no, it really does look this bad, even maxed out. Combine this with barely noticeable MIDI sounding music and things are hardly a feast for the senses. All of these detriments end up leaving Land of the Dead feeling like a rushed, unfulfilled game. It's roughly 2 to 3 hours in length on a first playthrough, and once you've beaten the story, there is pretty much no reason whatsoever to play it again. In regards to games based off movies, I can think of lots of instances where it's been done a lot worse. And in regards to it being a game about killing zombies, I can also think of when it's been done a lot better. People are charging almost offensive prices for this game online, so your best bet is just to give this one a miss. Even if you're a hardcore Romero fan, there is very little on offer.